So we're going to start our service with a wonderful song by Dalton.
The love of God is here in every breath we take. Fills us up with love and inspiration. Fills us and surrounds us. Meets our every need. It is our shining light and our salvation. The power of God is here in every thought we think. Gives us strength and offers us direction. If I make the choice to listen for His voice and let His wisdom guide me through my deepest reflection, let it be easy, let it be easy. Relax, let go, and trust the way is easy. Let your heart's desire be ignited by the fire. Your life is in God's hands, and He'll make the way easy. Oh, let it be easy. Oh, let it be easy. So as the day is done, I bow my head to pray. And know that in God's the truth of all creation. Beauty of the stars as they shine on you and me. And suddenly I know no separation. I rest from all the cares and worries of the day. I know that in the darkness I'm protected. I feel His loving grace caress my smiling face, and deep within my soul I know we've always been connected. Let it be easy, let it be easy. Relax, let go, and trust the way is easy. Let your heart's desire be ignited by the fire. Your life is in God's hands. He'll make the way easy. Oh, let it be easy. Oh, let it be easy.
Thank you, Dalton. You made that seem easy. So anyway, I'd like to have everyone wave to the camera for those who are watching online. And at the same time, have the children come up because we're going to do Face of God right after that. So wave. You can't see them waving back, but anyway, just or use your imagination. So we have the kids come up. And any adults too. Well, we're coming back. We just doubled our attendance. So for those of you out there, we encourage you to start bringing your children. We'll be safe and we'll be careful, and you can enjoy being with these wonderful teachers, on Sundays. So we invite you to come in. So just a few announcements, but first of all, thanks to Dave, who's filling in for Lindy on the sound, on the booth, doing the video, all the online stuff. And then also the board desk, we have Marty on the board desk. And then Shirley and Bill, who are in the kitchen. There's going to be coffee and tea and snacks afterwards, so you can just enjoy a little camaraderie and visit with folks. So again, thank you for being here. So a couple of quick announcements, and then we'll have our reading by Craig. So we have, the River Oak Sangha, which has been meeting here pre-pandemic, is going to start now coming back on Wednesdays, on August 4th, 6:30 to 8:30. So they, mindfulness practice, including, so first-time visitors and guests are welcome. And so also I want to point out the awareness, the new awareness that went out. If you don't have one, you can pick it up in the back. But a lot of really good information in there. But, we're going to celebrate Dalton at the end of the month. And so he's moving on to greater aspirations with his music and getting out there into the world. And so we want to honor him. He's still going to be coming here as a guest musician. And so we just really want to honor him and have everyone show up. And there's a rumor that the choir may be here too. So anyway, we trust in that. So in one way or the other. And then next Sunday, Sue and I will be traveling. We're going to take a little vacation, but it will be Andy Torkelson will be speaking next Sunday. So be sure to come to that. So it's the beginning of August, so we celebrate birthdays. So if anybody has an August birthday, if you just want to make yourself known, and we'll sing to you. We have Janet, yeah, and we have a couple, yeah. We'll do. I'm going to get out of the camera. I have to check my checklist. So if we have anybody new today and you'd like a welcome packet, just see one of the ushers in the back and we'll give that to you. We can also take you on a tour of the grounds. We have a beautiful meditation pavilion and a labyrinth and a cottage for the children, and just a beautiful set of grounds. So if you'd like to know more, just let us know. And then also, so I think we're going to move into having Craig come up and do our reading, followed by an invitation to the bell. And during the invitation to the bell, just allow yourself to settle into a more quiet, solemn space. And then I'll do a prayer, our form of, we'll do affirmative mind treatment, but it's our form of prayer. And then we'll have our wonderful inspired talk today by Reverend Sue.
The reading that today is called A Pause for Guidance, and it's all the words of Earnest Holmes. We are immersed in an infinite sea of intelligence, which instantly knows the answer to any problem, not because it enters into contemplation of the problem, since principles can have no problems, but because it instantly knows the answer to any problem. When we ask for divine guidance, we are really bringing our problem to a principle that has no problems. If we can get away from the problem long enough, we shall find the answer. When the mind turns to the divine for a solution to its problems, The divine, being ever present, answers by intuitively knowing not the problem, but its solution. And as you learn to release all your burdens to right action, the right action of God, you will find that everything falls into its proper place. You let the problem slip away from you, realizing that a power greater than you are and a presence that is within you is ready, willing, and able to guide you in all ways. Then peace, security, fulfillment come with ease, and there is joy, a sense of joy in accomplishment.
Please join with me in knowing that there is just one Spirit, one God, one source. And I allow myself to recognize and know that this one source, this pure love, flows through each and every one of us. And we allow this to occur with ease and grace, as we allow the recognition of the one to penetrate and touch us at the deepest level, at our core. And it's in this place that we know that all is good, that there is just love. And it's also the place that we gain inspiration and excitement about following the nudge and the urge to know more and to grow and to be all that we can be. So we recognize and we accept that in ourselves, and we allow it to be with ease and grace. And so for today, for each and every one of us, we open our minds and we open our hearts to the wisdom and the message from Reverend Sue, as she relays to you and to each of us her heart, her inspiration. So we allow this to be so, and we allow it to be true, knowing that it is all grace and all love. So giving thanks for today and for this sanctuary and for this community and for growth within each and every one of us, I say thank you, God. So I release these words and this prayer into law, knowing full well it's already so, and together we say, and so it is. In Reverend Sue.
Thank you, Judy. I love that choice of song, Dalton. So I keep saying to myself, that's my mantra right now, make this be easy. Oh, good morning, all of you. We have a new theme this month, a pause for guidance, as we reach August, the time a lot of people start to take their vacations or maybe are wrapping their vacations up for the year. So, but think about this as a time to rest and renew yourself. And so we've been doing a lot of thinking about, in this past month, about visioning and checking in with different spiritual practices to support ourselves on this journey as we continue to awaken. And I'd like to kind of feed you some information today that has inspired me in some of my summer reading. And so we want to check in to see if we really are paying attention to what our soul is calling for us. If we really are aligning with our spiritual values, with our purest and deepest intentions. And if we're not, do we need to reach out to our family or to friends a little more often? So this idea of if checking in, if you're avoiding or not paying attention, it is good to come to the center, to do your spiritual practices, to do your contemplations, to do your meditations, to see, have I just allowed myself to be trapped, to be comfortable in this COVID world? Because the COVID experience has made us withdraw space ourselves from one another, to not embrace one another, to mask in front of one another, all very important as a healing transforms the planet. But we need to look at, is it now my time to evolve out of this? I want to stay true to my authentic self. So if those are questions that you might have been pondering and you want to stay true to your journey, you're in the right place. And today's message focuses on a tune-up, a spiritual tune-up. And so the evolutionary vision, the statement from our organization's global vision states, we see a world in which each and every person lives in alignment with his or her highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God and connection with each other, a world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. Not a small vision, it's huge. And so Earnest Holmes supports this in saying, you are to find the roots of your life in pure spirit. You are to find your roots in pure spirit. Lose your sense of ever being separated from your good, and you will find that you were always united with it. To me, that is just such a sweet comment, a sweet wisdom that one of your best friends would tell you, that they would circle their arms around you and let you know that everything is going to be okay, that you are rooted in pure spirit. So the importance here is awareness, awareness, awareness. We keep driving that home. And are you aware right now as you sit here? Are you aware of even driving here? Are you aware of where you're situated in this sanctuary, or did you just bolt for the first empty chair? You know, it's just an interesting practice living in awareness, in pure awareness. Some days come and go, and we just feel great. We have that level of energy, we have enthusiasm, we seem to accomplish our checklists, our goals, and then there's that day that we wake up just plain old grumpy. No one here maybe, but I have to admit, I wake up grumpy. I'm off somehow. I'm just off. And right away that triggers awareness for me. Why am I here? Why am I here? I have so much to be grateful for. Why am I have grump face? I'm just uninterested in doing anything worthwhile except eating something that's not good for me. So these are the things I thought, what pulled me here? What drew me to that? What crabby response is just pouring out of me without me even mindfully thinking of it? What edge is hanging on my shoulders? So all the good intentions that I might have prepped myself with seem to just fall by the wayside. And suddenly, people I really like are bugging me. And it's just like, okay, true confessions, I feel like there are spotlights on me. Maybe that's why I'm pouring this out. But there's this idea that even our spiritual practices seem dry. They feel like we're just resting grump face, pretending to do our spiritual practices, trying to snap out of it. Prayers feel flat. And everything feels like sort of a dead end. Do you ever feel that way? Ever? Maybe just briefly, hopefully. That's what you need a spiritual tune-up for. We're all human, having this experience. And so it's time for those moments to respond, because you don't want to hide from what you're really feeling. It's important never to hide, and let everything that is necessary to be awakened in you to get caught up with that. So the tune-up or the tune within is the way I like to look at it. And this looking deeply at what has been bothering you. And ask yourself, is it time to have a conversation with someone other than my own head? right? Is it a time to pull in a dear friend and to just have the conversation where I feel like I am truly being listened to, because the mood has seemed to trap me. So what led me in some of these moments of reflections, thankfully they don't last very long for me. They come and they go very, very smoothly right on out, because it is a call for me to do some deeper work. And what I was drawn to this summer was the book by Michael Singer that wrote The Untethered Soul. Some of you might have read that. It's a great read. But he wrote The Surrender Experiment. And I kept hearing about that book, and I thought, well, what's that? So I put it on my Nook, and I found that I couldn't put it down. It just was one of those testimonies of the true practice. What he tells us in that writing, and I won't do a spoiler, but he's revealing his lifelong journey of surrendering to the flow. To the flow. He would ask himself, whenever he came upon a crossroads of thinking, he would first have to get past, I'm doing the right and wrong judgment thinking here. And his deep humility, his deep spiritual grace of humility led him to an inner freedom that continued to support him for a lifetime. The book covers a 40 plus year lifespan of his journey. And I was particularly intrigued because there's a time where he is led to Paramahansa Yogananda and reading the autobiography of a yogi, and that's where my journey started. And then that led him into housing Muktananda when he needed a place on a tour to bring his entourage. And so Muktananda was also another teacher in the Siddha practice, was very heartwarming and life-changing as I explored some of those avenues. So I'm thinking, wow, we're on the same journey here in so many different ways. So his deep humility led him to this support in his journey towards something greater, 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 and much more unimaginable. So that's what surrender allows for us to experience. He knew he could, if he stayed in the flow, I keep loving how he expressed that, the flow of the divine life unfolding. Stay in the flow of that. If he wandered away, he would suffer. He described the flow so powerful that it would clean out whatever was left in him. He dove into the principles of non-resistance, whether he liked what was happening or not. He shaped his frame of mind to continue to land on this spiritual principle alone, surrender. So as I continued reading, I was surprised how I was triggered emotionally, and I was reacting to his unfolding experiences, as if it was somebody putting something upon me. A little example, he had property in Florida. He just wanted to go and do his meditation practices. So he got this acreage, and he built a very little humble abode there. And so as he lived there quietly, silently, not bothering anybody, and he noticed on the very far edge of his property there was a single woman that would come and meditate there as well, and he thought, she's on my property. Okay, he surrenders to that. Moves on in time. He comes home one day, she's building a cabin on his property. I know, see? I'm like, no. And I was just like, I get the nerve. And I'm just like, what's going to happen here? And so I continued, page turner on the book, because I thought, why am I reacting to this? I kept finding that part of me that I know the feeling of this isn't right. And I started looking, even as I was thinking, the nerve. How often do we say that righteously? Oh, the nerve, right? What is the nerve? Which nerve? And so I went off down a rabbit hole on that, thinking, is it the vagus nerve? What nerve? What nerve is bothering us so much in this world right now? So I thought, okay, come back. That's a righteous response that we have when we don't agree with something. So these grumbles of ourselves start to engage with these issues. And if we just spend a little time listening to ourselves, showing ourselves some empathy and compassion, we would do it to another. We find that we can reach an understanding. It is our humanness. And we will react at times to what is going on around us. It's not making us unspiritual. Pat yourself on the back for that, or pat your heart. I'm not unspiritual just because I don't like such and such. But I need to come around to find oneness, to find love again, because I feel separate. I feel the nerve of them. So it makes us humble human beings when we look at this. There's nothing wrong and for looking for a way for yourself to deal with yourself when you aren't living up to your own expectations. What is this experience trying to show you? What do you see in yourself that you need to evolve? It's time to grow. It's time to tune up your experience with Spirit. Now, I've lived 69 years of my life. Charlie told me I didn't really have to mention this, but I got stung by yellow jackets, or I called them big giant wasps, because they felt huge. You know how something this big looks like that big when it's on your body? And somehow it went down my glove. And I've never been stung. But you know what my first thought was? Take that, Delta COVID. I have that in my system now, and you can't hurt me. I went right there. I'm thinking, that's the silliest thing to think about. But I thought, what not? Maybe I'm onto something. Maybe I should tell the scientists. You can take my blood. Anyway, it's just this moment of what happens to us and why. I don't know. I don't know why I got stung, but it was a wake-up call. So I look at what kind of flow is that? I cannot control events. And when we try to control events or even ourselves, that's where our tension and our anxiety starts to escalate, right? Things are in a flow, a divine flow. The greater divine idea is unfolding and evolving in creation, and what is unfolding in reality is what is, and it's not always our preference, right? It's not always going to feel like, okay, this is the way it's going to be. We have to just let go and surrender, the surrender experience. So we're gifted with a will that lives deeply in each one of us. And we're given the divine principle of freedom, that divine freedom, to apply qualities of our personal power in our mind, in our heart, and in our bodies, to attempt to make the outer experience conform in certain ways. It is here where every prayer is spoken, with that moment of us saying, Amen, so it is, so be it, it is so. We need to let go there. Say your prayers, know your truth, but then let it go into the divine flow. Surrender. Let go of your resistance and begin to believe in the power of your word spoken for the greater good of all, and let go of your resistance and efforting to make it look according to your point of view. Really? It won't be as fun. Oh, you'll be free, though. If it's not your point of view, things are universal. They're in a universal flow of love. And the universal love has the right perspective. The perfection of life is a force, a flow that's been going on, think of it, for billions and billions of years. Why push against it? Duh, the nerve of us. We come back to this idea of that's all we have to do is surrender. So in a nutshell, let me share what he says in a statement. Michael Singer. At the heart of the experiment is a simple question. Am I better off making up an alternative reality in my mind and then fighting with reality to make it be my way? Or am I better off letting go of what I want and serving that same force of reality that managed to create the entire perfection of the universe around me. Not about dropping out of life, but leaping into life. To live in a place where we no longer are controlled by personal fears and desires. The surrender experiment was named. Now, he was real careful to explain that his choices to practice this life still required him to assert his will at times, but the secret allowed him to be guided by life instead of being guided by what he wanted to be doing. So he aligned his will with the natural forces unfolding to allow him a powerful shift and amazing, surprising results. It was often and always probably a deep surprise to him. And there was many times when life presented him something and he was ready to say no. Yes came out. And he was like, oh no, I said yes when I wanted to say no. Think about those moments when you're at those crossroads. So when you have those voices in our heads and we're searching for some inner peace and some quiet, recognize that, okay, now I do need some pull away time, some practice to tune up, just be aware. Because Michael explored this idea that every time he saw something, those voices would start. Those debates would start inside of his head. I don't like this. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm critical of this. It dawned on him that as he was shaping his awareness practice, he was instantly aware of seeing something. Something was about to happen, and he was aware enough to see something deeper. No voice was going to tell him so. He had to go and see how he deeply felt about it. He got clear. I know what I see and I know what I feel. I am the one seeing, I am the one noticing. I can detach from those voices. I can let go of the drama, just move through it, let go of judging, and get to where I want to be. I can move into my being, into that which sees with eyes of love. So change your thinking. We've heard that before. After you hear it out, though, listen to yourself long enough so that you hear what you're trying to say. Rethink what you're feeling and trying to express or know or demonstrate in your world, and then just do it. The ideas here are supported by something that Earnest Holmes says in this thing called You. Whatever you identify yourself with, you will become like that. Whatever you resist until you make it a reality, you will also become like that. He also says you are to find the roots of your life in the pure spirit. Lose your sense of being separated from your good, and you will find that you are united with it. Nothing is separating you from your good. Your mind is an outlet through which the creative intelligence of the universe seeks fulfillment. And finally, I love this one. You should let go, surrender the lesser in order to experience the greater. Kind of move around in that one a little bit as you might feel some of the stuff in your shoulders. It's not a bad bargain, he said. If you lose a sense of unhappiness, guess what? You're going to become happy. If you, he says, it's not the easiest thing to do. When you are in pain, it's sometimes difficult to affirm peace. When you are in want, it is difficult to affirm abundance. But this is the true meaning of surrender and losing of your life. When you lose, what you lose is a false sense of being. You are trading the unreal for the real, the false for the true. If you wish to live in the kingdom of heaven, forget about hell. Earnest Holmes, The Thing Called You. This whole experience of tuning up and surrendering is supported by so many different faith paths. And I wanted to point to some of the Buddhist practices here, because what we're talking about is training our mind. We're getting aware of training the mind. And we know that from the Science of Mind teachings. All the classes support this. And we continue to evolve even in the classes. What you might have said, oh, I took that before, but your mind was somebody else back then. Who are you now? And when you take it now, a new awakening is happening. So watch for that in yourself, because we're trying to be here to eliminate these negative states of mind and cultivate the beautiful positive ones that allow us to flow in the river of life, to heal our entire being, body, mind, speech, heart, to work with our attitudes in such a way that we're finding the source of what is disturbing us, what assumptions have allowed us to be less than happy. So Thich Nhat Hanh says there are 4 questions to open the heart and empower love. Number 1, do I understand you enough? Do I understand you enough? Do I water your needs of suffering? Think about that when you're in conflict with another. Have I been watering your seeds of suffering? Or am I watering your seeds of joy? Please tell me how I can love you better. Thich Nhat Hanh. How can I love you better? To the self. To the self. How can I love the self better? And this passage on training the mind from a Tibetan author here, let me see if I can do his name justice. It is, these pages are really thin, so I could go and skip the wrong, and I did, I went to the Native American. I'll come back to his name as I find it, because I want to make sure I get this in here. So he said, whenever you are harmed by a sentient being or anything else, if you make a habit of just perceiving only the suffering, then when even the smallest problem comes up, it will cause you enormous anguish in your mind. This is because the nature of any perception or idea, be it happiness or sorrow, is to grow stronger and stronger by being repeated. So if we're only focusing out of habit, the suffering, it becomes larger. When the power of this repetitive experience gradually increases, after a while, most of what you perceive will become the cause of actually attracting unhappiness to you, towards you, and happiness will never get a chance. When you're not at the mercy of the suffering caused by the anxiety, not only will all the other kinds of suffering evaporate like weapons dropping from the hands of soldiers, but even illnesses will normally disappear on their own. The saints of the past used to say, when you're not unhappy or discontent about anything, then the mind will not be disturbed. If the mind is not disturbed, the inner air, the wind, will not be disturbed. That means the other elements of the body will not be disturbed. Because of this, your mind will remain undisturbed, and the wheel of constant happiness will serve you. Now, he actually had quoted that from a Tibetan master named Jimki Tini Nyima. So there's more I want to say on this, but I'm gonna bring it to a close because I want you to look at an example of this, somebody that modeled this. So I'm just briefly going to share a story about Hildegard of Bingen. Anybody ever heard of her? Hildegard of Bingen? Awesome person, huh? Of course you musicians have. She's done many, I think, similar to Gregorian chants and music, and quite an exceptional woman. But why do I mention her? Because listen to a little bit of a brief profile, a thumbnail sketch of how her growth and her willingness to deeply listen changed her. This is the story about she's a medieval abbess, composer, physician, and a writer. Hildegard of Bingen, the year 1098 to 1179. That's way, way back when. She was her mother's 10th child, and at that time, when you had a 10th child in an aristocratic family, that was considered the tithing child, and you were given away into something. So she was sent to the convent at age 8. All her life, she would tell people that she was uneducated. And it was her humility that made her do that, because actually she just was not learning the way the other children were learning. She was learning from some other source. She was in the flow, and that's where she got her information. By nature, this girl, they say, saw herself as a feather on the breath of God. Isn't that a beautiful image? A feather on the breath of God. But she had visions from the time she was 3. She didn't tell anyone except her tutor, and she told the tutor much, much later. At 15, she took her vows and lived an active Benedictine life. She prayed with people, worked with people, was steeped in office duty. Her room was next to the monastery chapel. As she grew up, she learned about healing properties of herbs, flowers, the 4 elements, the 4 seasons, the 4 humors of the body, the 4 zones of the earth, and the 4 winds. Later, she wrote about how they all related to each other and how the powers that they possessed were healing. She located the elements in the human body and wrote of balance and how disease was caused by imbalance. The year 1000 to 1100. Think about this. She wrote about the sun, the moon, and the effect on her health. She was the first nun to write about medicine. Her books are still highly regarded to this day, and they're still in print. Throughout her life, she had visions and felt a mounting pressure. Speak out. But she kept silent out of humility, and because of her spiritual directors, told her it wasn't her place to speak out. She had this urge, this calling. She would just attend the daily life at the convent. She was even now the abbess of that. So moving ahead, she did not begin her writing until her 43rd year, and when she received a confirming vision and experienced a spiritual awakening. And she wrote a letter to trying to get support to some of her fellow clergy, but it wasn't until her letter was forwarded to the Pope at the time, he generously and enthusiastically gave her permission to continue. And at first she was very hesitant. Think about somebody that's not spoke all their life and suddenly you're having an avenue to speak. But she said she'd been silent way too long, and she surrendered. She blushed at the thought, but she did speak out, and she became the figure of authority on the second half of her life, speaking against the Crusades. Okay, so a lot of times when we share things at the center, it's not about being quiet and let everything happen and walk over us. Speak up to what you know is the truth. Get into the flow of it. The general corruption in the church and in the world. She spoke about it all. She was often approached for her advice and counsel. She wrote many chants that are still sung today, and she was faithful to what God was showing her in her awareness. Words as well as music always accompanied her visions. The texts were never linear, and they didn't really quite tell a story. They were images piled high, wholly intuitive and circular, full of greenness, wisdom, fire, spirit, and abundant heart. She knew God was everywhere present. And closing this, just think about her way of knowing was clearly not the way favored in her time. And it's not really still favored in our times today. Nevertheless, Hildegard is a reminder that we too need to be faithful to that divine. To God is what God is showing us, and how and what we can do with this information. With conscious periods of quiet growth and listening, we'll know right where we are, and we'll be able to find our way together. Spiritual tune-up, spend time with each other, spend time with people that you trust, and have faith in the deep listening. Check in with your heart to see, indeed, is this where I want to be? I have a poem to close this with. I'm going to have Judy begin playing, and I invite you to move in the physical body. Move until you find your heart space. You've been sitting, you've been paying attention, you've been respecting and contemplating what is coming through to you. So now we bring it from the times of Hildegard to our current time, 2021. This poem by Julia Cameron, The Earth, This Earth. Close your eyes and feel it, visualize it. This earth is not made for our misery. It does not grow on trees like the fruits. You do not gather it like berries. It's not a vegetable, a root, the tall, delicious grasses. It does not swim in our sea or roam the prairies. The earth knows sorrow, floods, famine, drought, the scorch the earth to parchment so our names blow away like dust. The earth knows loss, sudden frost, pestilence, insects descending like dark, buzzing clouds to eat even our thoughts. The treacherous snow, the rains that fall too early or too late. We can live with these. The earth is practiced in these griefs. They are natural, like the child who slips away despite our love. The earth can hold and soften all these sorrows. Just give her time. Time that turns her fields from green to brown. Time that curls the vine to sweet tendrils like tiny hands. Our misery makes something else from time. The ticking is not natural. Our bodies know the cost. Feel how they long to lay down amid the grasses. Hear them sigh for a wind that carries cricket song and lark, a wind that sloughs and ripples like a river. Our earth isn't made from sound like that. Take off your shoes, lay your cheek to this dark earth who longs to comfort you. This earth is not made for our misery. We are miserable, longing for this earth. Deep in our knowing, a chord has been struck, an awakening, as we witness our humility in our humanness, that what we are called upon now is to continue to practice the opportunity to surrender and to trust the divine flow. No matter what negativity tries to shroud our thinking, there is a calling in each and every one of us today to stay awake, to stay in tune, to welcome the hint of the blue sky, to welcome the pure glass of water, to welcome the lakes as they restore themselves through the winter rains, to keep the idea of this earth prospering. At times where it feels so grim, so sad, we lay down our head on the Mother Earth and we give thanks for all the ways we are given life. So in this day, in this moment, in this time, in this love, in this moment of flow, we are one with that. We are the ones willing to stay true to our hearts. So I give thanks for the many conversations, for the lifting of any sorrow in our hearts, so that a greater idea is revealed to each and every one of us here today and forever. Always. I release this word in such a depth of gratitude, knowing this truly is all that there is. Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, Father God. Thank each one of you. And so it is. So thank you for listening to that. We have some music. And I also want to point out, Morgan, you want to just lift your hand and wave briefly? That's Sweet Morgan. That is our new Dalton. And we'll be knowing more of her. But let her feel our welcome, because we look forward to this and the companionship with Judy. And Dalton, in his nobility, set this all up for us in such a beautiful way. So, Dalton, thank you for that. And dedicating, I'm going to just allow this song. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I want to dedicate it to Harry Bliley. Those of you that have heard, he made his passing. his transition this week, and we will be doing some form of a Zoom celebration of his life. We'll let you know. It'll be later in this month. But to our Harry, to our Francis, thank you.
As time has unfolded me, it has revealed to me life's nothing less than sublime. With every thought I make, every last breath I take, may I be gracious and kind. Love, I invite you to open up this heart of mine. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Kindness wash over me, make me a symphony, play every note you can find. Make me reverberate, gently deactivate, slowly flow out of my mind. Find me a melody, dance and let my anthem be. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, light every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. I will not be shaken, I will not be moved. Love, cover me. May my heart awaken, tenderness be proved. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Oh, love, I invite you to open up this heart of mine. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me.
Thank you, Dalton. And thank you, Judy, for playing the piano. And thank you, Sue. And thank you, everybody. Anyway, I just feel thankful. So anyway, we're going to have our offertory now. And so I'd invite the ushers to, I'm not sure if they're coming forward or just starting from the back, but I think they come forward and then we go that way. But we have an affirmation for that today. So if you repeat after me, gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance. For I know as I give, I do receive. Great, thank you. And then Judy will play, or Dalton will sing. Both will perform.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
So with a heart of gratitude, I know for each one here, and I know for myself, that the center is deeply, deeply grateful for your gifts. It's your heartfelt giving that keeps this center going all through the pandemic, and now going forward as we prosper and we grow even larger, as we grow our congregation and we grow from the inside out. We know that these gifts are well received and well used, and it flows in the circulation of abundance back to each and every one of us. So giving great thanks, I say thank you, and together we say, and so it is. So thank you for being here today. We're going to have a closing song by Dalton, but before we do that, we're going to do our end of service affirmation. And we're going to do it twice, so you got to warm up. There's only one life. That life is God's life.
That life is God's life.
That life is perfect.
That life is perfect.
And that life is my life now.
That life is my life now.
So now we just share it with the world. There's only one life.
There's only one life.
That life is God's life.
That life is God's life.
That life is perfect.
That life is perfect.
And that life is my life now.
That life is my life now.
And so it is. And so now we have a closing song by Dalton, and then just enjoy the social hall, check out things at the board desk, and just enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. And it returns to me.